14, and we'd like to hear your input on the fight for 15, the wage increase.
Good. I'm all for it. In fact, I think I was the first candidate in our party to come out in favor of a $15 minimum wage. In my own state, I could only get our state legislature up to 1010, but 2 of our counties went to 1280. And now, I think what you're going to see, and by the way, we also extended collective bargaining to home health care workers and child care workers when I was governor as well. Yeah, the way this is supposed to work is the federal government's supposed to provide a floor. And ever since the time of the minimum wage in 1947, for years and years and years, our parents and grandparents, Democrats and Republicans alike, always kept the minimum wage above the poverty line. But then once we headed into the 80s, Ronald Reagan, trickle-down economics, we kind of kicked wage policies to the side. So now what you see happening in this move to 15, the fight for 15, I think you're going to see a lot of cities getting there before the states get there. But the important thing is, for us to remember, is that when workers earn more money, they spend it. And that's how your economy grows. And you won't find one example, not those 2 counties that raised it to 1280. Oh, hey, man, the high druids of trickle-down economics were saying everybody's going to close their business and everybody's going to move to another state that has a lower minimum wage. Poppycock. You won't find one example of any of those cities raising it to 15 an hour and finding that hurts their economy. And I predict that over the longer course, you're going to find that it actually helps Seattle. It helps Los Angeles. It helps New York. It helps cities to be able to pay people a decent living wage. And so, even if it's a glide path, I believe our federal government should set the expectation that we're going to $15 minimum wage. Cities want to get there ahead of us? Great. States want to get there ahead of us? But our federal government needs to keep the floor, and we should state that our goal is a $15 minimum wage. We all do better when we're all doing better. We all do better when we're all doing better.
I'm Nathan Maxwell. I'm just a student here at Coronado High School.
Is Nathan, is it?
Yes. I'd just like to ask if you have any plans regarding the violence in the Middle East and like ISIS or ISIL.
Yeah, let's talk. We haven't talked about foreign policy. I mean, it is true that our foreign policy and the national security strategy all depends on us making ourselves stronger here at home and a strong economy. They're all related. You can't have one with, but they're all interconnected. Having said that, here's what I believe with regard to ISIL. I believe we're most effective as a nation when we work collaboratively with other nations. And in this case, that means working with other nations to contain and degrade and defeat ISIL over time and to cut off their financing, to interrupt their propaganda. This is a barbaric, genocidal group, and we need to confront evil in this world, especially when it has the destabilizing effect that ISIL does and the potential to create safe havens for future attacks against the homeland here. So this is going to be a long haul, but I believe that our best shot at being successful is to work in collaboration with other nations on getting this done, not to go it alone. And I know I've listened to some of the Republican debates that would have you all believe they can press a button and somehow bomb their way out of this and make ISIL go away overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. But we need to work in collaboration with our other allies in the region, and we also need to learn the lessons of our recent past. And that is that deploying American boots on the ground in the Middle East often has the opposite effect that we would like to have. So I think the other nations that are on the forefront there need to take the lead on the ground, and we need to be in a supportive position. And there's other ways to lead rather than with, at the other end of a drone strike. What am I talking about? I'm talking about stepping up and doing our part to alleviate the humanitarian suffering with all of the refugees that are running for dear life out of Syria. We should step up. We were asked as a nation to take on 65,000 refugees as part of this. And I was the first candidate to say, yes, we should do our part. Because don't think for a second that the other nations, especially of that region, aren't watching how we act. And to those who say we can't make room for 65,000 refugees, in a nation of 320 million, that's like a baseball stadium with 32,000 fans making room for 6 more people. So we are a large and a generous country, and we need to lead on a humanitarian stage as well. Can I say a couple other things about foreign policy and national security? I gave a talk to a lot of our returning veterans from Afghanistan and Iraq. They found themselves serving in the far away from here, far away from home, guarding other people's oil wells, and they came home and wanted a better foreign policy. And so this group was called the Truman Project. And I laid out a talk there. It's called America's Role in the World. We need a new foreign policy of collaboration and engagement. And we also need a new national security strategy that forms new alliances to identify threats as they're rising and takes action to reduce those threats before we're backed into a military corner where it seems the only options are American boots on the ground or not. And we also need leaders that understand that we need a whole of government approach to reducing these threats. We are too quick to reach for the military tool and deploy our military. And I think that puts too much on our men and women. I've been to a lot of funerals of a lot of families who paid the ultimate price for a foreign policy that sometimes is not executed consistently with the principles of our nation. I mean, we were led by false pretenses into that war in Iraq by our leaders, and we are still paying the repercussions for it. We work best in the world when we take action in alignment with our principles. And that's the sort of new foreign policy that we need, a principled foreign policy that addresses some other threats, not just ISIL, climate change, the good things the president's put in motion with the Chinese government that could well turn out to be the seeds of what just might save this planet. A pandemic out of West Africa, tensions in the South China Sea, tensions in the Arctic as sea lanes open. All of these require a United States of America that's engaged from a standpoint of principle with like-minded people in order to reduce tensions and reduce and mitigate threats. Yes, ma'am.
Governor, thank you so much for coming to
Thank
speak
you.
with us.
What's your name?
My name is Lorraine Oliver, and I'm a nurse. And I'm an immigrant. And I have lots of things that I'd like to talk about, but my specific question is, you said that you'd like to try and get our immigrants out of the shadow economy into the light. Can you tell us how you would accomplish that?
Sure. And my website, by the way, is martino'Malley.com. And I have put a number of policies out there, and one of them is for comprehensive immigration reform. I intend to go as far as I possibly can with executive action in order to keep families together as we build a new consensus for passing comprehensive immigration reform. I believe that these for-profit prisons that we've created are bad policy, and we should get away from those. I believe we should restore due process to border enforcement, and I think that we should strive to reduce the terrible specter of detaining women and children and families behind chain link fence in our names, in our country, in what we can only regard as detention camps. So I believe in comprehensive immigration reform with a path to full citizenship, and I intend to work for it every single day that I have the honor to serve you as your president. And in the meantime, I will exercise my executive authority to keep families together. The number of deportations, mindless deportations, that break families up without any public safety justification is bad for the United States. Keeping families together is good for the United States. We shouldn't punish families because our politics is dysfunctional. We need to pass comprehensive immigration reform.
Thank you very much for coming. My name is Claire Town.
Thomas, and since you are here at SEIU and you had made reference that in the beginning of your career in politics that the labor unions did support you, I would like to know. I would like to know, now that you are running for president, how do you protect labor unions? Because right now, you see throughout the nation that we have an assault on labor unions, that people all across the country want to abolish us. So I would like to know how you would protect us, since you are in favor of labor unions.
Thank you. Great question. I believe that if you look at when wages separated from productivity, and you look at the stagnation in wages, you have to. The evidence says that a decline in union membership was part of the cause for wages declining in our country. The reverse of that could also be true, that the easier we make it for people to organize, the sooner we'll get wages to go up again for all of us. So I would look to appoint very strong people to the National Labor Relations Board. I believe we need to update our National Labor Relations Act. I believe there should be some teeth and enforcement. I think we should make it easier for people to, a shorter period of time, to have votes and let people decide whether they want to join unions or not. And when employers act illegally in trying to suppress the workers' voices, I believe there need to be some repercussions and some penalties and some enforcement. And so those are the basic, my basic thoughts as to how we do this. And I will always strive to appoint good people in positions like Secretary of Labor. In fact, your current Secretary of Labor for our country used to be the Maryland Secretary of Labor, Tom Perez. I regret I have but one cabinet to give to my country.
Thank you, Governor O'Malley.